Welcome back. We are one of the most affluent communities in the country, yet 52% of students in Sarasota County schools qualify for free and reduced meals. 33% of households in Sarasota County struggle to afford basic needs like food. So what happens now that it is summer? Over 40,000 kids are at risk of going hungry. Tonight we talk about what is being done, and joining us for more are the CEO of Ending Hunger, Sandra Frank, the president and CEO of Meals on Wheels, Mary Beth Phillips, and Sarah Dan, a member of the Sarasota Schools Food Nutrition Program. Thanks for all being here tonight. You know, there was something that Erica said in her story that really kind of just raised a question to me, that this summer is particularly tough, that the need out there amongst youngsters for food is more than it has been in previous years. And I'm wondering if any of you know why.
I think the answers may be different for each of us. Speaking for Sarasota, All Faiths Food Bank, what we've observed is that our efforts to reach more children and raise awareness of the summer's food programs has resulted in an increased number of kids seeking that food, which is a good thing. The need itself has been between 50 and 52% for as long as I can remember, actually.
2009, when the economy had a downturn, that's when we saw the increases go from 33% to over 50%.
So is it the same thing in terms of Sarasota schools, that you're just reaching more kids now, or is there more need now than there was in just the last couple of years? Because the economy has been recovering, so we hear.
A lot of our parents work in the service industry, and I think that recovery has been slower than anticipated.
And in Manatee County, our numbers have doubled because we partnered with our local school and nutrition services to reach more children. So we're getting out there, and our numbers have doubled because we're getting to those kids who have signed up for summer school, as well as the distribution that we've had each year.
But is it also a situation where parents who work in the service industry, those industries have not recovered to what they were before the financial
It's probably
collapse?
very likely, and just there are people that are back at work, but in Manatee County, we have the Alice report, which still says that about 43% of our households, our individuals, are still living right at that critical point, that poverty line, and they're one episode away of just not being able to go on financially.
And before we leave that point, I don't think we're going to see a change in the economy here, it being a service-based. So this issue will be, it's a trend that will be going on for decades yet to come.
Well, we're painting a picture that really is disturbing to a lot of people who are watching this right now and really want to make sure that the next generation that comes along can do as well as possible. Because after all, we have great schools, especially in Sarasota County, an A rating. But if some kids don't have the ability to learn as well because of food issues, that really has an impact.
And I think that's what motivates all of us to make sure that these children are very well fed, because whether or not they are well fed has an impact on their education, their graduation from high school, and their prospect of getting a good job.
Okay, obviously we are just getting warmed up. Our conversation on summer hunger continues. Welcome back. We are talking about summer hunger, and joining us for more are the CEO of Ending Hunger, Sandra Frank, the president and CEO of Meals on Wheels, Mary Beth Phillips, and Sarah Dan, a member of Sarasota Schools First Nutrition Program. This is an important subject. It's important to every member of this community. It's important to us here at ABC7. And we have an initiative going on when we mentioned Feeding Sarasota or Manatee County, that you could find out more about this right on our website at mysuncoast.com/hunger. I encourage you all to go there and check it out and see what programs are out there to feed youngsters and the community. And Sandra, we also mentioned in our story, it's this time of year that your food bank and other food banks, the supplies get lower. And I would imagine, that has a lot to do with why these programs are so important during the summer.
Exactly. Referencing this being a seasonal and service economy, come March, April, May, most of our residents head north or back home to their residence. Food and funds disappear at that point for us who work in the food banks, and that was the impetus and the reason behind starting the campaign against summer hunger, which was to raise food and funds to help feed these children all summer long, when our snowbird friends are not here.
So how is that going right now in terms of your stockpiles
Yes.
and the funding to keep it going?
You know, this campaign worked phenomenally well, so much so that Mary Beth's group is now beginning to get involved in it. We have raised sufficient fund to be able to provide food for children through August, right into the term when school starts, and we try to overlap with the school year when it begins, so we're providing backpacks and food right through August into September for these children.
Same thing in Manatee County. So during the school break, there's no access to make sure that those children have the nutrition they need and the weekend programs.
And Sarah, is there a way to basically quantify the impact this has on children in terms of the how they learn and have their test scores?
Well, there's definitely research out there that supports that when children are undernourished during times that impacts their learning. So this is our 21st summer of doing community feeding, and so yeah, it's definitely making an impact.
Okay, we are getting warmed up. Our conversation on summer hunger will continue after a quick break, so stay with us. Welcome back. If you're just tuning in, we are talking about summer hunger here on the Suncoast, and joining us for more is the CEO of All Faiths Food Bank, Sandra Frank, the president and CEO of Meals on Wheels, Mary Beth Phillips, and Sarah Dan, a member of Sarasota Schools Food Nutrition Program. Thank you all again for joining us. And some of the numbers here are incredible. All Faiths is working with 178 different partners to feed children during the summer. At least 40,000 backpacks at 104 different locations, including libraries and summer camps and child-centric agencies. That's incredible work out there.
And it's through innovation and partnerships that we are able to reach 35 to 40,000 children. They are scattered all over the county. So it's been necessary, and it's been important and effective to have 178 partners helping.
But we were talking during the break, and it's something that we really should emphasize and re-emphasize. These situations are happening not necessarily through any fault of these families. These families, you talk about in the service industry, you know, it's really kind of paycheck to paycheck, and if one thing goes wrong, if your car breaks down, you know, it's almost like a domino effect in terms of abilities of mothers and fathers to feed their children.
Right. So they come to the food banks to make sure that they have food on the table, but like you said, just one episode can just set them in a state where they can't afford, or they have to choose, do I put gas in the car or do I buy food? And in many cases, they have to come to the food banks to get the food.
Or get to a job which allows them to earn money to...
Right.
It is an important point that I think we'd like for us all here and your listeners to take away, is that these are working families, hardworking families.
That's true.
And given our economy, it's service-based. They're making a little bit above minimum wage. Both the parents are working. It's very hard to cover the cost of the most basic necessities, given the high cost of living in Sarasota.
I was going to say housing
as
too.
well.
You know, housing costs are pretty high, and that contributes to it as well.
Sarah, I imagine for the school system, it's very frustrating from the point of view that you work so hard during the school year to get test scores up, to get you know, reading up and a good learning situation, and you provide these meals during the school year, and the difficulty and the danger is these kids, you know, lack for good nutrition during the summer months, and it sets them back as we go into the next school year.
Well, and that's why in 1997 we went to the community and started the community partnerships. Since that time, it's now grown to 48 sites throughout Sarasota County. Any given day, there's over 9,000 breakfasts going out and 15,000 lunches.
And
that's for a week, but you know, in the day, so we're really meeting, you know, trying to meet that, and then with everybody partnering together, we're able to take care of our kids in the summer as well as the school year.
explain for a moment why another family who is living around here, who is doing better and has no problem providing for their children, should really care that some children are lacking in terms of good nutrition during the summer?
That's a great question. What they need to realize is that family maybe right next door, their friends may be struggling with,
And they may not know.
and they may not know. And there are so many resources in this community. That's one of the exciting things about this program, is that everybody's working together to try to help all children, not just kids in need, but those Alice kids, anybody who might struggle, because you never know what your neighbor's going through.
What for people who are watching this right now who want to help in some kind of way, is it better that they donate food or come up with and try to donate money, or organizations trying to get together and finding ways to fund these programs?
I would say all of the above. So we welcome organizations to do food drives, neighborhoods to do food drives. Of course, funds give us the capability of getting, or using our purchasing power, of course, but I would say all of them would be helpful.
And another really important thing is we found through our studies and work with the families, they weren't accessing the food because they didn't know it was available. They simply didn't know it was available. If the folks who are listening could just be aware of that and share that information, go to any of our websites, and all of those locations are identified.
Right, and I mentioned this once before. I want to put this back on the screen if we can, that we have links to these websites on our webpage at Feeding Sarasota and Feeding Manatee County. If you go to mysuncoast.com/hunger, it is all there. There are links to these programs and a lot of information that's going on out there. And it's kind of critical to know where to look and what's available out there for families that may need it.
Getting the word out. That's the key to this. As Sandra said, a lot of times families don't know these resources are available for them. And what's exciting is, we can direct them to places where they can get breakfast, they can get lunch, but also where they can get snack bags, where they can get fresh produce, all sorts of foods that can help the family and the children. So everyone benefits.
In terms of the funding, are we really kind of depending on the good nature and the generosity of the community? Is there government funding that is out there?
Not necessarily for us, maybe for...
Yeah.
And is it stable?
Yes, there is no government funding for the food bank of Manatee necessarily, but it's the funding that comes from the community, for the most part, that helps to fund what we need to purchase.
In our case, the Summer Food Service, or the Summer Break Spot program, is the U.S. Department of Agricultural funded program, and at this point there haven't been any funding cuts, so we're we're moving forward, feeding as many kids as possible.
But there was a lot of discussion about that over the last year. I remember discussions in terms of cuts to that program, cuts to Meals on Wheels that concern a lot of people. The other question is there concern out there that about the cost of food going up? It goes up regardless, but there are a lot of things that are going on in our politics right now in terms of tariffs and how it's going to affect the dairy industry and farmers and so forth. And I would imagine that could, have an impact on people's ability to contribute to these programs.
I think for us the most costly is the produce and the fresh meat, and those prices are going up. And then the cost of the transportation of those from the farm to the food bank or to the school, the costs are going up, and there are concerns in the food industry related to the tariffs.
So let me ask you, one thing that you think that people don't know about the need for summer nutrition for children and the overall problem?
What people don't need, wonderful work done by Children's Health Watch that demonstrates that. Children who do not receive adequate food during the summer months are less likely to do well in school, are less likely to graduate from school, and less likely to become productive members of our society and give back.
Yeah. I think we have to feed the body before we feed the mind, and it's critical to benefit both our children and our community to make sure that happens.
Sarah?
And it's definitely a key component to preventing the summer learning, to preventing the summer slide. So definitely good nutrition is important for all children in the summer months.
All right, I want to thank you all for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We want to thank our guests, Sandra Frank, Mary Beth Phillips, and Sandra Dan, for joining us tonight.